Hey, so I'm excited about talking to you guys today about how to become a FSBO expert. I know you guys have been asking for this strategy for a while and going through what it's like to think like a FSBO and also how to get your listing with a FSBO owner. So let's go through the strategies that I like to take and what I've learned over the years, and let's see how to make this work. So the one thing I want to go through is the FSBO mindset. What are they thinking? How to negotiate with a FSBO. The ladder approach, which I'll go over with you in depth. A net approach, and also the script that I like to use. There's so many different ways you can coordinate and communicate with a FSBO, but I'll give you the one that works best for us. So let's go through this agenda. Hey, so let's go over a FSBO mindset. Okay, so what does a FSBO, why are they doing this? Usually they believe it's quite a bit easier. They're in the 2020, 2019 where things were just booming. They have a easy time selling because they are they're still believing there's bidding wars, and they're looking at the Zillow's showing them that they can sell it for $100,000 more than we actually can at this time, and that's this market right now. Things change, but they think it's easy. All they have to do is throw it out there on FSBO, and buyers will come. Sometimes this does work. What we find is that a lot of times FSBOs lose about 20 to 30%. On getting out there to the public. So they're missing all those extra people that they could actually sell to. So it's harder for them to sell. But what is the other reason is that they don't want to pay real estate commission. So if you are a FSBO and you're trying to sell your property, you're going to sell it without paying the listing side of the commission. So that half of the commission. If a buyer's agent does bring a buyer to the property, you will still have to pay, the FSBO will still pay the buyer's side commission. So they're only separating that percentage, half of the commission that they will not have to pay. A lot of times the FSBOs, however, do undervalue their properties somewhat to help it sell, or they keep lowering it to help it sell because they're missing the broad reach that you get on MLS and other platforms. And so really, if you think about it, they're just taking away the money that they would have made, and they made extra work for themselves. So it makes it a little tougher for the FSBO to sell their property, and they're taking away the income that they would have made, and they could pay to an agent to make it easy for them. But their theory is that if they come lower on the price and they don't pay a commission, then it will be easier for them. So that's kind of the mindset that we need to get through to the FSBO, and to explain how using the broad reach, hiring and valuing your services, so raising the price of the property, valuing your services, then they don't have to do any of the work. So it's trying to get through that mindset that you need to break through. So according to the FSBO mindset, according to the National Association of Realtors, the average owner sold property sells $174,000, while the average agent assisted transaction of the same property sells for $215,000. So what this means is a loss of $40,000 for the homeowner trying to avoid the 6% commission. So it's no surprising that at the end of the day, they eventually throw in the towel and they use an agent. So using the statistics, you can discuss this with the FSBO and explain that, usually it's selling under because they don't have the ability to do comparable properties, prove their case that their property is worth and has more value. And you don't have that veil with the buyer or the buyer's agent. So you have more of personal attachment to the home. So when the buyer agent or the buyer comes in and says, well, this isn't updated and that's not updated, and well, and they keep knocking down the price, you feel obligated to, okay, let's do that. So if you can discuss with your FSBO and explain that you can be that veil, there is no personal attachment, there's no emotional when negotiating, you can just discuss and usually can sell for a lot higher, and on a national average $40,000 higher. So that's a lot higher. So that's kind of the FSBO theory, but there is a loss. So how to actually get in the door with your FSBO. How do you negotiate with them to become their listing agent? The first thing you want to do is get their foot in the door. Talk to them. Usually what I do is I have a lot of buyers. We have a lot of buyers here in the brokerage. They're always looking for properties, especially investors. They're not looking for a specific area or school zone. They're just looking for properties. So I always have a buyer, and I can always present your home, any home, to them. So I usually discuss with them on the phone. I say, hey, I have a virtual buyer. I would love to come and do a virtual tour with them. Take videos, discuss with them, and show them your property, the FSBO property. When you do, because usually the FSBO will say, okay, bring me a buyer. Well, I have one, but I have a bunch of virtual investors that are looking, or buyers that are looking, because if you say investors, they know 60 cents to the dollar. But in this market, it's a little bit different. So you say, hey, I am interested in coming to look at your property and doing a virtual tour for some of my buyers. Would this be a problem? If they give you a time and date, perfect. Let's make this happen. When you're at the property, offer to evaluate their property. Offer to go through a CMA, show them what the property is valued at. They may have it at $400,000 and say, well, here's the CMA that I'm coming up with and I'm showing my buyers. It's showing to be $380, or it may show to be a lot more. And you can explain that you can put it on the market for a lot more, and you can get your commission out of the profits. But give them that opportunity. Show them and give them, you have the knowledge, and offer to evaluate their property. Also discuss with them ideas on how to sell the property a little bit better. Maybe if they paint this, or they could use, since it hasn't been on MLS, you can work with our partner Curbio to get some of those rooms updated, either a bathroom, kitchen. You could have Curbio done it, paid at closing. So you can give them those ideas and give advice at that. Discuss the pricing with them. Go through different ideas and say, well, if you were to get this done or this done, or maybe this isn't that value. Maybe there's more of a personal attachment to it, and see if it's worth discussing when they're at the property. So it gives you a chance to really grow that relationship with them and show them that you have the knowledge, you have personal touch with that property, you have empathy of where they're at, and then how to actually go through the process with them. It builds trust with them. The next thing to do is discuss our market strategy. So discuss your brokerage's strategy. Go through, okay, this is our outreach. We have over 300,000 in our outreach in our marketing media. We also use different platforms, not just MLS and cast a line and waiting for a fish to bite. We go out there on Facebook and post into Facebook groups. You go through your marketing strategy, your open houses, your broker opens, your everything that you're going to do to show them what you do to get it out there. And then you always leave behind. So you bring your listing presentation, which includes your marketing strategy. You leave that behind. And usually I leave my comparable report with them and say, hey, this is just for your knowledge if you want it. But of course, I know that you're wanting to sell it yourself, because if they're still not ready for it, you say, I understand you want to do this for a while. If, say, in a month or two, if things don't turn around, we'd love to work with you and see if we can help you get it on the market and push it in different markets to see if I can find that buyer for you. So that's usually what I do to negotiate, to meet them, to discuss with them, and hopefully build a rapport so that when they are ready, they'll come back to you. You're basically seeding them at this point. So here comes the fun part. When you are discussing, say they are considering, when you get your foot in the door and you're discussing the idea of a listing with them, say, I have another structure as well. I have the ladder approach that I discuss with them. I have a few different options. So as a FSBO, I can go ahead and put it on MLS. I can put it all over the market. I can put it in some of our Facebook groups. I can get that broad reach I'm talking about. I can send it to our database. I can send it all over the place to get your property marketed and explain to them your marketing plan. I can do that for 1%. If you would like me to go over the documents, so say you have a buyer come in, you want me to look over the documents and make sure that everything's signed correctly, everything's good, I can help you with that. But that goes up the next ladder because I'm going to be putting in a lot of effort and time. Sometimes on the 2%, I may say, I can also filter your buyers, so I can go through the process with them. I can call them. And when they call, you can put my number on there. I'll go through the buyers. Still, I'll only make that 2%. However, if you want me to negotiate the transaction, if you have a buyer's agent, instead of me passing it back to you, if you want me to negotiate it with them, make sure everything's going smoothly, remove that veil like I was talking about, so there's no personal attachment to the property, or feeling guilty for selling it higher, or they start knocking you down on the property, I do it for 3%. But this sets you all up. With this one, I set it up into your agreement. So then in the extra terms on your listing agreement, you have the ladder on there. So we can go over that when we're working on putting together your agreement with them. I'll show you exactly how to write this, and I can give you an example later. So this will give you the ability to start slow, and every time I've done this, I have always at least gotten to 2, if not 3, because once they start getting those calls from the buyers after we've advertised, their phone's overloaded. They can't get to, especially if they have a job, they're not getting all the buyers that are calling them. They're just not able to handle that amount of contacts. So I usually move to the 2%. When it comes down to negotiating, that's when I get into the 3. But it's always a great thing to start. And they're great to work with once you get started. So you can use this ladder approach to win over a FSBO. So that's just one other idea to get that going. The next thing is to use a net listing approach. So you're basically asking them, very similar to a net listing, of course, you wouldn't be signing a net listing agreement. It would just be using that same strategy. You say, okay, so if you are trying to sell it for $320, what are you trying to make sure that you get take home? What is your take home price? Well, I need to make $300,000. I need to pay off the mortgage, debt, everything else. I need to walk out with $300,000. You look at your comparable properties and like, oh goodness, I can sell it for $340. No problem. You could either sign a net listing where they walk away with the $300,000, and if you sell it for $340, then you walk away with that profit margin between you and the buyer. If they if you renegotiate it to $335, $330, then it negotiates the price down. So it could be as high as $360. You could go as high as you want when you're doing the net listing. We're going to do a net listing course, so I'll go through how that works, because there are a few things you want in that agreement so that you do not walk away owing money from the agent side, which a lot of net listings get into. But if it's written correctly, it's very simple to walk away with a good solid income from these net listings. I have walked away with a really good income and gave back to the seller as well, but was able to get them to move forward into the next home. So net listings are great if you're able to structure them correctly. But the one thing you want to focus on is a FSBO is concerned about their net profit, and this is what they're going to be netting once they close, and after that is just your commission. So you can walk through the net process with them. I usually have a form so we can go through how the numbers work. We go through, go with your title, make sure you have all those numbers correctly, your commissions, everything straight, so that they walk away with what they need to net at the end of the sale. Here's another example of a seller undervaluing the property just to save money, because a lot of times they think, oh, I just don't want to pay the commissions, and since I don't have to pay the commissions, I can get away with lowering the income or lowering the sales price, so it goes a lot easier. But it's kind of hand in hand. You can cut out the real estate agent, lower the price, the FSBO is still doing the same amount of work, and you don't have as much reach and as much advertisement. So it's kind of hand in hand. But what I usually find is with a FSBO, the sales price that they have on the market is 500,000. But the comparable properties are 565, say. You could put it out there for a listing price of 550. Just to get it sold quickly still. So there's still a lot of value in a FSBO, and as long as they see the value that's in front of them. So let's go over a quick script. How do you usually get your foot in the door? I usually call FSBO. I just say, "Hi, I'm calling about your house for sale. Is it still available?" Of course, they're always going to say, "Yes, it is," or if it is. "And do you want to buy?" And the next step, and this is a role play. I mean, they hear this over and over again because once they throw a FSBO out there, agents are calling all the time. "I am currently working with buyers in your area and wanted to find out more about your property to present to them." The FSBO usually comes back, I would say 99% of the time, "Okay, bring me a buyer." No problem. If my buyer likes the property, are you willing to pay buyer's commission? And 99% of the time, they usually say yes. So this is a typical script that you go on and on and on. "Wonderful. Can I come by and get more information about your property so I can present it to the buyer? What time works for you? Can I do a virtual tour? And I also want to go through and do a semi-inspection." I usually say, like, not an inspection. I'm not an inspector, but I'm going to go through and discuss options with them. Needs a new roof. There's water damage. Little things that I can present back to my buyer or my investor. So that is something that I always like to do when I'm talking to a FSBO. I just want to get in their house too, to know what I'm selling to my buyers. So this is a typical script that you want to use for. So this is a great script, but don't just go off of the words. Make it your own and come up with ideas of how to get them excited about listing with you. And one idea is to definitely throw in the 1% to see if that'll help. And then when you're finished with this, make sure that you send them your digital business card, because they'll remember your face. The ones that we make here, we have your image that comes out when you send it by text, so they'll remember it, so that they can get it in their phone, so that when they're ready to throw in the towel, they come back to you. So that's a basic script. Well, thank you for joining me today as we discussed how to be a FSBO expert, and hopefully this gave you some great ideas to move forward with contacting FSBOs, seeding them, and getting that listing. So if you want to contact us, here's our contact information. And if you have any ideas of any other trainings you'd like us to put together, please put it in the list below and in the comments below. And hopefully we will talk to you soon.